companies, but since it's been a little bit tepid for them, let's bring in Eromosele Aziba. Good morning.
Good morning, boss.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for listening to this long introduction about where we are as far as the market is concerned. Off the cameras, you said you folks at AfroInvest don't cover the healthcare sector, even though you need all the drugs. And I'm surprised. This is something you guys have to rethink. If you're using drugs, pharmaceuticals, you need to cover the healthcare. So you take it back and think about it. But just by the side. But in terms of these companies, do you think it has more to do than the state of the economy in general and the Nigerian pharmaceutical industry or medical industry or medicines, rather than the fact that these companies don't want to list on the exchange?
Thank you. I don't think it's so much of a case where the companies don't want to list on the exchange. I think it's the general conditions in the economy. Looking at the health sector as a whole, we know there's a dearth of infrastructure there. There are a lot of bottlenecks that have continued to hamper activities in this sector, and in general, sentiments towards the sector has been rather bearish. I mean, even looking at the stocks that are listed on the exchange, they account for just about 0.2% of the total market cap, and prior to about 3 months ago, activity in these stocks was rather minimal. Until we heard the announcement about the deal between the joint venture between the federal government and May Baker for the production of vaccines, and we started to see a lot of attention go back into the stocks. May and Baker has risen about 200% in the year. We saw this sentiment trickle down to NIMET's performance also, and FITS also benefited from this. So it's basically in the last 3 months that we've started to see some attention return to the stock. But I mean, looking at it on a broader view, when compared to other sectors in the market, investors' attention still remains more focused.
Shouldn't we be putting our money where our health is? Look at me and Baker, almost 7 years, almost 8 years of a very steep decline. And thank you, folks, Stockman, for shooting that to us. Look at the steep fall in the share price of me and Baker, over 20,000 or year 2000, June 2000 to June 2017, when you saw, if you look at the bottom there, you saw the resistance level at 1 naira 23 kobo. Now at what you say at the top red there, resistance level about 6 naira. We're seeing about 200 or 120% increase in the share price of Emi and Baker. That's the company that the Ministry of Health says they have some relationship with to produce local vaccines. If you look at Fitson Pharmaceuticals has been a bit of a rally, impressive rally, and looking at resistance now on that share price, near the top right column in red, you find the resistance, the fourth level of resistance at 3.25, and this also over an 8-year period. You can see the share price moving up there, and you can see the arrow pushing that up and taking you to the new resistance level. And finally, you have the NIMEF. Those are the three major healthcare there. If you take up the NIMEF, you've seen very wobbling performance there for NIMEF. Still not be able to. This is what's called a failed, sometimes folks say it's a failed recovery for NIMEF. Eromosele, come back to you. Do you think, or what more do you think to get more healthcare companies in the market, whether they are hospitals? Unfortunately, EcoCorp has been suspended from trading from the exchange. It hasn't turned in its financial statements to the exchange for quite some time. And even these pharma companies aren't really doing fantastically well until me and Baker.
Well, I mean, the situation in the economy, looking at these companies in the health sector, financing actually still remains a major problem. Looking at for instance, number of hospitals in Nigeria, over 60% is owned by private individuals, and in terms of management of these ventures, it's a sole proprietorship where one individual makes all the key decisions. So there's this dearth of financial knowledge that exists in the sector as regards the opportunities that are available to them for expansion, for raising capital, for getting equity investors to come into this space. So that has remained a key challenge for for that sector, and this is what has continued to sort of drag the performance that we've been seeing.
What would you like to see as an investment analyst?
For these companies, well, like I mentioned, we need to see more financing in the sector, see some sort of expansion. I mean, looking at the likes of like America and some other developed nations, pharmaceutical companies and generally companies in the health sector play a huge role with improvements in biotechnology and all. But we know these expansions are highly capital intensive, so if you don't have the required financing, then it will just continue to see this drag sustained.
Basically, from a policy side, in conclusion, do you think we need to do more on the health ministry's fiscal side, budgeting, for more of government funding in the healthcare sector? So do you think this could play some role?
Yes, of course. It's going to play a huge role. I mean, from the last budget that was released, about 6 to 7% was allocated towards activities in the health sector. But an agreement within the countries in the African Union earlier in the millennium stated that about 15 to 16% of the annual budget should be allocated towards the health sector. But that's not the case that we've seen here in Nigeria, with about 6 to 7%. And of this proportion that actually goes to the health sector, a large percentage of it is spent on personnel costs. So in terms of infrastructural development and all that, we still see the drag in that space.
Quite an interesting conversation with you. Thank you very much. Straight to the point. And let's discuss health in the days ahead. Thank you very much, Ramosele Aziba from Afrinvest, one of the investments analysts. We'll come back to you after the break. Let's take you back to the top story. The Supreme Court has declared the former Kaduna State Governor, Ahmed Markafi, as the authentic national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, or the PDP. The judgment finally laid to rest the long-drawn internal crisis rocking the country's biggest opposition party. The court had earlier overruled the preliminary objection to the appeal by the McCarthy-led caretaker committee of the PDP. All the details are at the top of the hour at 11 here on Channels Television, where news is king. We'll be right back.